Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for joining our second session today. I'm very pleased to introduce our next presenter, who is Alex Pestchanker, Innovation and Digital Products Lead at Tesacom. Alex is presenting on exponential products and how to create them. Sounds a great subject. So, again, same procedure. Alex will present, and then we got some opportunity for questions at the end. So I will now hand over to Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, so much. Welcome, everyone. I will share my screen in a minute. Let's get to it. Cool. I hope you are all seeing my screen. Okay, I cannot see anyone, so I assume that you are seeing the screen. Welcome to this session. I'm very thrilled to be here. Yeah. Hello? Okay, that was a confirmation. This session about exponential products and how to create them. You have there my details and contact data just for the recording in case you want to reach out. But the most important thing here is first, thanks Unicom for this great opportunity to be here, all the sponsors that make this event a reality, and especially to Tesacom, my employer, to support me in being here. All the things that you are going to see or I would like to share with you in this brief session comes to my experience, both on the technical side and on the business side, out of 23 years plus experience in different corporations, different countries, and different setups on building products, technological products that were kind of in all the range, right? Successes and not so much successes. So I hope you enjoy the exposition. Is not meant as a technical exposition rather than an inspirational one, giving you some topics to think about, guidance on where to find extra information on deep dive on certain authors about how we can switch our mindset from the just requirement and technical stuff towards why we are creating products in the first place. So let's jump to it. Products. Let's talk about products. I'm not sure if you know, but 7 out of 10 products, new products that go into the market, failed. So even though we put all this technical effort, all this knowledge and tools and methodologies and technologies, most of the products that goes into the market, the new ones, fail. So there seems like there is some dark side magic into them, right? But especially when you see things like that, right? A very well planned product, very neat, well thought, well executed, really neat. Suddenly users start doing some things that you didn't expect, and the product was not fit for that. Why, right? Also, we have products like this when you kind of really tell that something was not really understood in how the customer were going to use the product, and then you realize that suddenly the product was not what you're expecting them to be. But there are some products that are really noticeable, right? And all these products that you are seeing here are products, even though I don't even tell you about them or their brands or the names, that you probably recognize them. Those products are products that really create that impact through the generations. Many generations realize what these products are, even recognizing brands or names, even though most of those people had not even used those products. What happens there that some products fails and others generate such an impact? And There are some thoughts and studies about this, and I want to cite here this great thinker of our time. This is a modern thinker called Simon Sinek. Probably many of you have heard of him. He wrote several articles and books, and he invented this idea of the golden circle, which is a very simple tools to explain what makes a good product, right? And he summarized that into this phrase: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So he started to uh, tell us that products are not about characteristics. Products are around purpose. And when you realize that the product has a purpose, and the user or the customer aligns their needs or purpose with your product, then you have then something that really worth, and people care about it, and people remember, and those are the products that really impact. So I recommend you to look for Simon Sinek, understand better the golden circle, to understand first of all, when you are starting to build in a product, why, right? Why I'm building this product, why I'm trying to achieve, what is the purpose of this product, and the purpose in the context of the users and how they are going to use it. But what is an exponential product? Because products, we all know, we all use that word, but exponential product is probably not something that we normally use in our daily building of products. So let's have a definition here. An exponential product is a product that grows at above average rate, up to 10x faster than other products, and it does so considerably by using considerable resources, fewer resources, thanks to creating a user-centric experience, new forms of manufacturing, and a different mindset. Of course, you can take that as a just a definition, but there are some key things here that I would like to get into detail. First of all, is this about what is what does exponential means? And here we have Peter Diamandis, which is one of the co-founders of the Singularity University, one of the top schools in modern thinking about organizations and products. And he has this model, which is called the 6D Exponential Framework, that kind of states the different stages any new technological wave goes through in the market when it's generating traction there. So we start with something that is digitized. We are talking about exponential waves. So most of these exponential waves are digital products in some sort of way, or products that are being digitized. So we start with the digitalization, then enters a deceptive phase where things are not going as planned because the market is getting ready for that product. And then when the curve starts going up, it happens the disruption. And then three things happen there. One is most of these products dematerialize. That means that it creates all sort of dematerializations of the components of the product or the uses of the products, and that helps driving the prices down. So the next phase is demonetization. And then when the monetization happens, then democratization happens. And then when you have the top of the curve with many people that were not used to have access to those products, suddenly they do, and you have a massive exponential growth. Examples of these are cellular phones, for example, right? Or computers that are being used today in very poor neighborhoods of people that are not even having access to normal services, but they do have access to a phone or a computer. And this is what one has to think about when you are thinking on products that really scale, because your product will go through all these phases. And if you don't really think about that, if you really don't build your product around these, you will probably be constructing something that in one or other phase will fail. So that's something that needs to be thought when you are building products that really scale. There are other thinker, which is Salim Ismail, that is a partner of Peter. Is also one of the founder of Singularity University, that wrote a book about the exponential organization. And this is some other part that we need to think about when we are creating exponential products. It's not only the product itself, it's also the organization that will be managing, marketing, and support and deliver that product. And an exponential organization is one that has these characteristics, right? It behaves like a brain with two sides. One is the order, control, stability, left brain, and the other one is the creativity, growth, and uncertainty, right brain. But one of the things that is common to all the exponential organizations is a massive transformational purpose, which is linked to what we talk by Simon, right? Which is this purpose-driven organization that can set an idea, a vision, purpose in the market, and with those products fulfill that vision. And that is something that needs to be there if you want to build exponential products. There are several characteristics that any exponential organization has, and you can see them there. We don't have the time to go deep on each one, but there are many of them that are related to the third component of things that you need to understand in order to be able to build the exponential product, which is the business model. And the business model is a sort of compass that will allow us to understand not only the purpose that the products want to fulfill, rather than the how, right? You need to understand in which context this product will function, by which means it will be delivering this value to the customer, which specific segments of the customer it will satisfy, and what will happen or what needs to be happen in the back end or the back of the product within the enterprise or the company in order to be able to produce that value. So a business model also needs to be part of our design. So if we look backwards on what we were covering, in order to create an exponential product, we need to understand the exponential phases that the product will go through, to understand the organization and what characteristics the organization needs to have in order to support, market, and deliver exponential products. And then we have to think and create a good business model that support the scale, right? It's all about scale on exponential. So if we only think about requirements, technical requirements, or non-functional requirements as we used to, we will probably not be able to cope with the demand, cope with the exponential, cope with the growth. So all these three are key aspects, and all these three authors, the last one is Alex Osterwalder, that created the business model canvas, are key authors if you want to get into the idea of exponentiality and creating products that really create that impact and last. And finally, what are some advices or key things that I need to have or understand in order to create these exponential products going specifically to the product? There are several guidance that we are here in a conference that promotes DevOps and other methods. And Garner here created this chart that I really like in terms of understanding what methodologies and ways of work and ways of thinking are there, such as the design thinking methodology, Lean Startup, and Agile practices. And they put all them together in this phased process here. The only thing I recommend here that probably in the reality this will not be so neat and in sequence, and they will be something like this, right? where we are going in circles. We are going 2 steps behind, 1 forward, 2 stops with probably no way going forward. So we need to back up, regroup, and then try another path. But the important thing here is all these 3 methodologies and many others that you already know, all the great methodologies and technologies that we are using when we use and adopt DevOps are here to foster and help us during all this chaotic circle, right? Because we are kind of finding new ways of creating products, and the end result here is that we need to create products that customers love. If the customers are not adopting greatly, willingly, and really loving our products, the exponential growth will not happen. No matter how much money do we have, how much effort do we put on the products, if the customers are not feeling understood and we really hit the key on the iteration of understanding the better and better and doing all this journey of discovering their needs, how we can solve them, the exponentiality will not happen. But all these methodologies are there to help us, and all of them in certain point in the way, not as neat as we saw before, but in a more per use as needed basis will help us to get there. Another thing that we have, we need to have, and our teams have to have, is another way of thinking, and we call that growth mindset. There is an outstanding author that I do recommend, Carol Dweck, that she talk about this idea of thinking differently. When most of us, especially us as engineers, think on failures as something to avoid, something that is limiting us or not helping us to reach our destination. And also we see ourselves as a product of our knowledge. So if I learn this, I am this. The growth mindset is kind of the opposite. Failure is an opportunity to grow. Failure is something that we will not be able to avoid. And when we jump into a failure, we are going to learn. And that learning process is what we get us to our destination. Again, it's not a direct line that will help us to get there, satisfying the customer in an exponential way, rather than a set of iterations, learnings, and failures that will help us learn better. And for that, we need to understand that we as persons, and teams, and as an organization, as a product, we will be learning and growing through that cycle. It's something that we need to accomplish in order to better understand the customer and produce the proper products in an exponential way. And finally, I think that the old way of looking at the market and the products with this idea of the product market fit, I think it needs to be revamped and changed for something that makes more sense in all the contexts that we just saw. We need to start thinking about purpose and experience. And when we understand what the experience the customer wants and what the experience are we going to generate by our purpose through our products, and then when we find that fit within purpose and experience, then we will be realizing this idea of products that customers love, and we'll be creating exponential products. I would like to finish with an inspirational quote. Let's say, maybe you remember Ratatouille, the movie, and we have Anton Ego that came to the restaurant and egocentrically claimed for, I would like something fresh, clear, well-seasoned, perspective, which is having a brain rational way of doing things. But what we need in order to create products that customers love, we need to understand emotions. We need to understand connections between our products, customers' needs, and our experience, the experience that we create. And that is accomplished mostly by heart and passion. With that, I would like to thank you for listening, and I open up for questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex. Excellent presentation. I think it's very thought-provoking, and I can see there's already some questions coming in. So, would you like to read out the questions, or would you like me to read
Sure.
them?
Yeah, I have here. How are DevOps and exponential products related, connected? Well, as we saw, I think that DevOps are mainly focusing in the three and even more methodologies that we saw, right? Agilism, Lean as a basis, and on also some design and design sprints, or design thinking and design sprint. So there are a lot of relationships there and are connected, because you cannot create iterative experiences with the customers or create products together with the customer if we don't apply methods that allow us for iterations. So there you have the connection right there. You need to automate some practices, especially on digital products, fast feedback loops with the customer in order to understand if my hypotheses are right or wrong. And for that, DevOps is a great methodology, way of thinking, way of working that allow us for that experience to be learned. Second one, can you explain deceptive growth again? Some examples. Yeah, it's not easy. I'm not Peter Diamandis, but I will try my best. Deceptive growth is, for example, with Kodak. I don't know if you know, but Kodak invented the digital film. Basically, they was invented they doom, right? Because they went broke. When they invented the digital film, they kind of try to manage it as if it were part of their main products. But the digital film industry was growing very, very small in steps, right? But they didn't realize that that growth that seemed linear was really exponential. Because if you think about exponentiality and you think on, I don't know, 5 steps, then you will have step 1, the step 2 will get 2, right? It will double. The step 3 will be 4. The step 4 will be 8, 16, and so on. So if you get 30 steps in exponentiality, you will be kind of going around the air like I don't know, 20 times. And the problem is that when you are on the kind of flat line at the beginning, you are not going to generate as much passion, traction, or even revenue, especially in an existing company. So that is called deceptive growth. Hope that I explained that better. Third one, what are the merits of not making exponential products? A good question. Really interesting. The world is becoming exponential. We see this by each day on technologies, achievements, technology news, possibilities now that the world is giving us that we're not even there 5 years ago. And all these technologies and trends are kind of combining itself among themselves and are kind of accelerating the exponentiality. So if you don't jump into that, probably your product will not make it. Because if your product is not exponential in an exponential world, probably your success will be very ephemeral. And you need to understand that the market will not wait for you. And if the market accelerates and you don't accelerate, then you will be lag behind. And if somebody in your industry accelerates better than you, well, you know what happened, right? As a leader, why is it important to focus on exponential products? Well, it's kind of the same answer that I just gave. before. But as a leader, it's a good question thinking about the human side of this, because we are not prepared to think exponentially. Simply, the humans think on linear terms, and if you have to think about how to make exponential products, that this is something that I live every single day of my work life, is really difficult, because when people ask you, okay, will this be an exponential product? You kind of look at them and say, I don't know. We have to build it, try it, iterate it, and test hypotheses. And probably the first hypothesis will be wrong, and then we will have to switch to another one. And that creates a lot of anxiety, and probably, if not managed well, frustration. So as a leader, I think you will play a vital role there, kind of holding the organization together, holding the stakeholders together in order to understand what the process has to be. Whether you are getting there, achieving results or not achieving results, the decisions need to be made. Is about how to iterate, how to switch between opportunities, but sticking to the process. And that is something that the leader is needed there in order to convince the others one, inspire the others one, and make others collaborate in order to reach destination. And you have plenty of examples in our modern day, such as, I don't know, Elon Musk, for example, right? This is very easy example. He jumped into the rocket industry, and he blew a lot of $1 million in a very short period of time. So imagine if you are a stakeholder on his company, and then suddenly the first rocket blow up, the second rocket blow up, the third one. So when is enough, right? And it takes a leader there to fulfill the promise and show the others what you have learned. Because yes, this product was a failure, but I learned this, and that will allow me to go further and reach that exponentiality. And last but not least, what is key characteristic to know products not moving to the right direction? Great question. Thanks for asking that. I think your customer. For me, the customer or the user, as you may want to call it, is the only one that can tell you or show you, because sometimes customer doesn't have the right words to tell you that they are not satisfying. They are trying their best to use your product because they want to solve their needs. So they find rare and unique ways of using your product, and they don't have words to express. But if you observe them, if you really engage with them and at the very beginning in a one-to-one relationship, is not about here. We are not talking about stochastic trends. We are talking about people, human beings that are interacting with your first versions of the product, and you are talking to them, you are seeing them, you are understanding them, and you are feeling them through your products. If you do that, you will know when your hypotheses are on the table with your product representing them, and the hypothesis is not valid. You will tell. You will see on your customer's face. You will see on how the customer is trying to do something weird because they don't know how to use your product to solve their needs. Same as the image we saw about the park, right? The people will walk their own way and they will mark their own path. And if you are there understanding that, you will know when things have to be changed. Not sure if there are more questions and if I answered them.
You answered them extremely well. Thank you, Alex. That's been a great session, and we're perfect for time. So thank you very much for that. If I can just get one very quick plug in for everybody, just a reminder: if you can please fill out the feedback form at the end of the day, or as you go along, that would be really much appreciated. We had a feedback form for yesterday and for today. The links are in the joining instructions. We really appreciate your feedback, what you liked about the conference, your thoughts and ideas. It would be very gratefully received. So Alex, again, thank you very much for a great session. and we'll move on to the next presentation. And are you around
Right.
for the panel session later?
No, unfortunately, it's very late here. It's 1:32 in the
Oh, wow.
morning. I need to sleep.
No problem at all. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Take care, all.
Thank
Hope you
you.
enjoy the rest of the evening and the event. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.